Hello, divine creations, divine marvels, children of God. Thank you so much for joining in. And as you can see from the announcement I made, this is a special day for me. It's my birthday. So thank you so much for joining in on this very, very special day for me. So, I'm going to be doing a little talking. There'll be some times of silence. And throughout this entire gathering, I want to invite you to observe your body and drink in the divine energy that's always available and that maybe is a little more available when groups of us, even if we're spread around the world, consciously do this together. Thank you, Germana. Aw, thank you for ever loving everything. So let's start. Let's start with a minute or two of that, just observing our body, receiving, taking in the good, the love, the divine energy that God is constantly sending forth, saying yes to the gift. Observing your body, taking in the good. Hi, Ross. Hi, Nikki. Thank you, everyone. Wow, I'm so happy right now. Thank you. So, it's my birthday, and on this day, I'm reflecting on why am I here, which is a great reflection to do every day, but it's especially poignant to reflect on our birthday. So why are we here? What are we doing? What's the purpose of life? Why, literally, why? Bruno Groening points out, and he was not the first person to point out, that we're actually not a body, that we're a soul, and that we've been given this body, and we've been given this, and we're here. So we're this eternal soul in a body on this planet. And so the question, it's an interesting question. Why? For what purpose? For what reason did God set things up this way? What are we doing here? Thank you, Malin. Thank you, Nikki. And so here's something that Bruno Groening said about the birth of Christ. You don't even know anymore why, for what reason, for what purpose Christ came to this earth, and you therefore do not grasp the true reason for his birth. But I must tell you, dear friends, that so long as you do not understand the birth of Christ, you will not be able to comprehend the meaning of your own birth. Then again, you also do not know why you are alive and for what purpose God has given you this wonderful body. So, Bruno Groening would do energy work on 30,000 people at once. And what we would call the miraculous happened. Blind people would regain their vision. Paralyzed people would stand up out of their wheelchairs. People who were born deaf would be able to suddenly hear. And yet he didn't put himself above us. He wants people would ask him, "Who are you?" Which is logical. Like, how are you able? They were asking, "How are you able to do these things?" And he said to them, "You don't recognize me because you don't recognize yourself." And here he's saying something very similar about Jesus Christ, who a third of the planet considers Jesus to be the highest soul that's ever been on this planet. And Bruno very clearly says, you don't understand the birth of Christ because you don't understand your own birth. Why did Christ come? And why did you come? And when you understand why you came, you'll understand why Christ came. If you know who and what you are, you'll be able to know who and what. He said this about himself. You'll be able to know who and what I am. So let's really take this to heart. Bruno said the human being is and remains divine. We have this tendency to put beings like Bruno and beings like Christ so far above us. But over and over, Bruno called us to have respect for Christ, and Bruno asked people to trust in him, but not blindly follow him. He invited people to really respect beings such as Christ, but also in this other way to recognize the divinity, the power, and the glory, to respect that's inside of us as well. So let's reflect on these words for a few minutes. And reflect on the utter humility of Bruno Groening and even the utter humility of Christ. It's written that Christ said, "Of myself, I can do nothing." It's written that when someone said, "Good teacher," and asked him a question, and it's written that Christ responded, "Why do you call me good? Only God is good." So there's this paradox that in utter humility comes utter, I don't know how to say it, glory, that can awaken this divine seed that lives inside of us. So let's reflect on all this for a little bit, continuing to take in this good energy. And please don't take my word for it. And Bruno Groening told people not to take his word for it, to reflect on these things and come to their own conclusions. Observing your body, taking in this good energy. recognizing our smallness, and in so doing, opening ourselves to God, and then our vastness can become quite apparent. Of himself, Bruno Groening described himself as a helper, and he made it abundantly clear that his task was to get people to the place where they didn't need a helper. He would say, if you cannot yet believe, I will believe for you. Until you know how to pray correctly, I will pray for you. Until you're able to directly receive the divine current. He said most people weren't able to, that he would describe himself as a long distance operator. He would help people establish the connection until they were able to do it on his own, on their own. And what if that's what we're all here to do in our own way? To be a helper, to be a reminder. In those moments where I know in the moments where I'm lost in, fear or pain, or there's a life situation that just feels too big, sometimes all I need to do is just talk to a good friend. And they may not say the words, everything will be okay, but they're not buying into my fear, so they talk to me from that energy of it's going to be okay, or maybe we can do this. They're calm and centered, and that brings me back to that place. And Bruno Groening said that on Christmas Eve, there's a special grace available that you can ask for a heart wish. And I haven't been able to verify this, but I've heard it said that he also said the same thing about your birthday. And my birthday heart wish is just to become, in my own version of, more and more like Christ or Bruno or Amachi or other great beings who are just devoted to service, are devoted to God and are devoted to service. Now you might say, "Oh, wow, he's that's a very saintly aspiration," and sure, on a certain level, it is. But part of why I have that aspiration is because I've just suffered so much, and because I'm not. Part of what made me so devoted to this path is being so far off the right path that I just don't want to have anything to do with that anymore. That I don't want to fall off the divine path ever again. Um, so that may be, what I'm presenting. It might be a little bit of an extreme. I don't want to say extreme, but an intense of like, I just want to devote my life to God and to service. But truly, I believe that's what everyone wants in their heart. We all want to give and contribute, and we all want to be connected to this source of joy and love and health. Everyone just wants to be happy. And what I've come to realize on the mystical path is that, that happiness isn't going to be found externally, and that the meaning of life isn't just to sit absorbed in meditation in that happiness, but it's actually to share it, to be little mirrors of God, to receive that light and then to reflect it out, to be little lighthouses, to broadcast. But again, please don't take my word for it. Find out for yourself. So let's spend a little time reflecting on the question, why are we here? Is truth right? Are we here to reflect the light and love of God? And to do it, and each one of us has our own way. Let's spend a little time reflecting on that. Continuing to take in this good energy. Noticing what you feel. Taking one step deeper into faith and trust that there is an infinite, all good power, and he, she, it, we all might have some slightly different ideas about what this all powerful goodness is, but let's take a step deeper into trusting it, to aligning ourselves with it. So in Buddhism, it's said that a human life is unspeakably precious. The opportunity to have a human birth, because in that in that tradition, the Buddha and his own realized that it's only, well, I'll just say in the Buddhist tradition that that's where we have the opportunity to experience what they call enlightenment. And Bruno Groening said something very similar, that having having a body here on this earth is a spiritual opportunity that is precious beyond words. Here's a little story that kind of hints at that. There was a woman. I'll just read. This is from Powers of the Spirit, page 247. One day, an affluent lady from Klingersfort said, completely depressed, "Ah, Mr. Groening, I am looking forward to being able to pass over, since I cannot abide this earth anymore, and I am longing for the day when I shall be able to leave it again." Groening replied to her with great seriousness, "Indeed, and it was before your birth you wailed the most and begged for another incarnation. God placed so much grace in the cradle with you that it would be a sacrilege to be discontent. Your being here offers you the possibility of learning a great deal and of letting go of still more. Use the time that God has given you and make the effort to make the most of it. That is, to live always in the good." The lady followed Bruno Groening's advice for positive thinking and as far as possible, despite several trials with her family. It was only more than 30 years later that she was able to go home after a fulfilled life. I can identify with that woman, as I'm guessing most of us can. In the 21st century, life is intense here on this planet, very challenging. And Bruno Groening, as did many other great thinkers, the Buddha being one of them, pointed out that it is a precious, precious opportunity, and called us to make good use of it, and from a place of gratitude and a place of really making the best use of our time here. So inquire, does this resonate with you? There's different ways of languaging. The Buddha languaged it in one way, Bruno languaged it in another. But let's take some time and really reflect. Because many people, and I've had these moments myself, they think of life as a curse and death as a blessing. But Bruno Groening, as he did with so many things, is he just flipped around the exact opposite of that very human opinion and said the truth is actually the opposite. That yes, in death, for one who has freed themselves from evil, um, that leaving the body can be a glorious thing. However, that it's here in this lifetime that we free ourselves, and that this life is an unspeakable blessing. Let's reflect for a few minutes. And again, this is more poignant for me on my birthday, but it's a poignant question for us to reflect on every day. When we wake up each morning, there's a woman I know who she's just an angel. She's constantly beaming with positivity. And oftentimes she would say to me, "You know what? The most amazing thing happened to me today." I'd be like, "Oh, what?" She's like, "I woke up this morning." So let's take to heart the fact that we all woke up this morning and really reflect on Bruno's words and see if they resonate. continuing to take in, to absorb. Thank you, Rita Ram. Wow. So here's a quote from Bruno Groening. Now, again, keep in mind, this is a person who, while he was in his body, we don't know, maybe 100,000 spontaneous healings happened. And since he's left his body, based on his teachings and his spiritual help, maybe 100,000 more. I don't know. You know, I've experienced so many healings. We've had healings happen in the middle of meetings. So, personally, Bruno Groening is in terms of teaching and teacher, I trust him. My level of trust for him is and respect is very high. And here's what he had to say about you and me, about all of us, and himself. He said, "Believe that I am nothing more than your helper. Believe, dear friends, that I am nothing more than a servant of God, which you can be also if you want to, if you only do it. And believe, dear friends, that I am nothing more than a tool or an instrument of God, which in reality you are also, which you are not yet able to believe." So, from my perspective, the most Christ like, one of, if not the most Christ like beings on the planet, is saying that the difference between him and us is just we don't quite have the faith that he does yet. In early Christianity, there was this idea that the word is called theosis, that what Christ actually, and this is a historical fact, that early Christians believed that what Christ came to do was to teach us how to be more like him and ultimately to be more like God. This is what early Christians believed, and that's why it was part of why it was called the good news, that we are all these unspeakably beautiful divine beings, and we're on this journey of becoming even more, of embodying that and being that. So I'd like to thank everyone for joining in. Thank you for all the well wishes, all the hugs and love and kisses received and returned. It's such a gift to me, each person who comes to these gatherings. It's an amazing birthday gift. Thank you. I'll be doing this again in a couple hours. I'll post a time in a little bit, and maybe around 3 or 4 o'clock my time. Less talking, more just tuning in. And so let's take a minute and really ask for ourselves. Really ask for deeper faith, deeper connection, deeper devotion to God, and deeper devotion to helping. And let's ask for clarity. What's the type of help we're here to do? Each one of us is different. We have different gifts. Trying to imitate Bruno isn't um, the way Bruno lived, isn't our way. Trying to imitate the virtues or finding our own way to express the virtues and principles that he taught and shared in our own unique, beautiful way. Let's ask for any people in our lives that we want that this energy be sent to them. Let's ask for everyone who isn't live with us right now, but who watches this video. Let's ask for Mother Earth. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Bruno Groening said that this life on earth is a school. Personally, I think of it as the Christ school or the saint school, that we're all here to face these challenges that are sometimes unspeakably painful. And yet, as Bruno said, to rise above them and to realize that the good will prevail, and then to help others realize that. Thank you so much for joining in. I wish you all a glorious morning, afternoon, and evening. And thank you for celebrating life with me today. Thank you for celebrating, in particular, that I'm still alive, which I am still alive because of these teachings and the help of Bruno Groening. Have a beautiful day. Take care. Much love.